This is your Peace Prize. There is also a beautiful medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go. Fantastic.
That is our president. Yoink. Welcome to the Dollemore Daily. I am the aforementioned Jesse Dollemore, who happens to feel like a big bag of smashed assholes. You ever feel like that? You just wake up, a little pukey, a little not feeling great. I can always take solace in the fact that no matter how bad I feel, it'll never be as bad as Donald Trump feels. Maybe my body set me up for that segue right now. Donald Trump is an insecure weakling. Just his ego drives him based on the fact that he was either hugged too much or not enough by his dad. Too much by his mom, not enough by his dad. These are things I say all the time. But this weekend, it was put on display like maybe no other weekend or set of days that we've ever experienced with Donald Trump. When he was at the FIFA award, they created a peace prize for Donald Trump. We know he's obsessed with the peace prize. And then later in the weekend, yesterday, they filmed the Kennedy Center honors that he hosted, like he's a late night host or a comedian who hosts an award show. And there was a red carpet. They filmed this for broadcast later. It's a CBS production. CBS now, Donald Trump's, he directs that. Essentially, he's the president of the network. So let's begin with this session of mockery of Donald Trump, where they created an award because he feels bad, because he wants the Nobel Peace Prize so badly that the international body that regulates and organizes soccer on the world stage, football, it's called everywhere else, they created a peace prize for him. And it's not just the creation of the peace prize and the presentation of it, it's watching Donald Trump accept it and yoink, he yoinks out of the box. And if there ever was a metaphor for what we're going through right now and exactly who Donald Trump is and what he is, it is Donald Trump putting the medal on that was created for him about the thing that he's angry about not receiving, the actual peace prize. So this is like if Major League Baseball created a peace prize for whatever reason outside of the purview of baseball, or the NBA's annual peace prize, or name another one. The National Federation of Chess Players, we have a peace prize. Watch Donald Trump gleefully, without any sense of irony or shame or dignity, accept the award and present it to himself.
Please welcome the very first winner of the FIFA Peace Prize, the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald J. Trump, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is your prize. This is your Peace Prize. There is also a beautiful medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go.
I'm gonna wear it right now.
Okay, let me hold. Fantastic. Excellent.
That is our president. Yoink. And then yesterday, I think this was yesterday, again, the days kind of run together when you're not feeling great. He was out on the red carpet here in Washington, D.C. at the Kennedy Center, where they're peppering him questions. Now, there's at one point, I don't have the clip here, but there was one point, actually, I'm going to find the clip. Let me write it down. I'll find the clip. A reporter asks him, hey, I want to ask you a foreign policy question. He goes, no, not right now. I don't want that. First of all, you don't ask which questions you can ask if you're an actual journalist. I don't know what the hell was going on here, but this kind of sets the tone for what we're in store for the rest of the things I'm going to talk about.
So that would be up to the board. Thank you.
Are you willing to take a foreign policy question?
Say it?
Foreign policy question?
Well, I think maybe not tonight.
Russia, Ukraine?
This is about the Kennedy Center. Okay, thank you.
Asking permission to ask a foreign policy question? What's next? Sir, Your Highness, Your Excellency, who are you wearing, sir? What is the label on your tuxedo? Just absolute nonsense. And this entire thing is an exercise in boosting the ego and the self-esteem of Donald Trump, who apparently, being president of the United States, doesn't do well for his self-esteem. It doesn't cure all that ails him psychologically, because there's talk about renaming the actual Kennedy Center to the Trump Kennedy Center, which I think it'll likely just be changed to Trump. Here he is addressing that question. And you know, when Donald Trump says, I don't have authority over that, I don't have the power to do that, you know what's coming.
So we're very proud of that. Thank you very much.
Do you think, Mr. President,
what do you think of the Netflix Warner Brothers deal?
Trump Kennedy Center, Mr. President, do you think the center will eventually be named the Trump Kennedy Center?
I don't know. I hear that, but I don't know. That's not up to me. That's up to the board. The board makes that decision. We have a very prestigious board. If you look at the names, I don't think there's a board like it. So that would be up to the board. Thank you.
All of this is sycophancy. All of this is a session of bootlick of Donald Trump, or worse, wherever they can cram their tongue. Brian Stelter talked about this in an article. I believe Brian Stelter wrote this article from CNN, talking about how now board meetings for the Kennedy Center are more like a cabinet meeting where they go around the horn kissing Donald Trump's ass. This is one paragraph from the CNN article. Board meetings, one attendee says, now mirror Trump cabinet meetings where members go around the room to, quote, talk about how great and visionary the president is and how he has so much class and taste. And since he is, remember, he ensured that he was the one to host the Kennedy Center honors, which no president has ever done because it's not what they do. Other presidents have more important and pressing things on their plate than hosting an award show for celebrities. Not in Donald Trump's mind. That's chief among his priorities. That and the gold-encrusted $350 million 1,000-seat ballroom. This is, can you imagine, Donald? Oh, sir, can you imagine receiving the Kennedy Center Award? And he says he's going to nominate himself for the said award next year.
Imagine, Mr. President, now we know that you've hosted before The Apprentice for many years. Could you imagine next year maybe you're not hosting, but maybe you receiving the Kennedy Center honors?
That's an interesting one. I haven't heard of that. Yeah, I think I'm going to nominate myself for next year.
Mr. President, every day you have such a big job.
And if this is not enough bootlick to have you regurgitate your breakfast or lunch or whatever meal you just had, here is Donald Trump being peppered with the most important questions of our day, such as, what did you do to prepare to host the award show for celebrities like Sylvester Stallone and Kiss? Watch this.
Mr. President, how do you prepare for hosting this year's Kennedy Center honors? You have so much on your plate. Where do you make the
I have
time?
a lot on my plate, and I didn't really prepare very much. I read a little bit. I have a good memory, so I can remember things, which is very fortunate. But I want to just be myself. And so you have to be yourself. Johnny Carson, he was himself.
Look, I wish I had the energy to laugh more heartily at this. And this is funny. This certainly is funny, because all it does is shine a light at what an insecure puke Donald Trump is. Just the weakest of weak, while trying to convince the world, MAGA world especially, that he is a strong man, that he is an alpha man, that he's focused on the things that impact the world. He's going to change the world. Yet he's hosting award shows, mocking Jimmy Kimmel while doing the same job that the lowly Jimmy Kimmel does. It's just a lesson in how to not act like an asshole. Whatever Donald Trump does, just don't do, because you come across as a weak, insecure specimen, if you want to call him a human being, just the lowest of the low. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. I wish I had more energy today.
President Trump is out with a new Truth Social today on your decision to run again as a Democrat. And the president is saying, oh, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Attempting to bribe a federal official is a crime. It's a felony, punishable by up to 15 years in prison. And Donald Trump just admitted on Truth Social that that is exactly what he did. At the very least, he was trying to set up a quid pro quo with Henry Cuellar, the criminal Democrat congressman from Texas. The man who is now pardoned by Donald Trump. And now we're learning the same thing I said last week, that this was an attempt to get Cuellar to switch parties, to be a Republican, or at the very least not run for office again. That's what this pardon was intended to set up. And Cuellar announced that he's going to run for office again and as a Democrat. And Donald Trump is just announcing his crimes on Truth Social, which he is immune from because the Supreme Court saw fit back in 2024, the summer of 2024. I believe it was on my birthday, I think. No, that was the debate. It was a few days later. The Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump has almost absolute immunity from anything he does while president, while in office. This is 18 U.S. Code, Section 201, bribery of public officials and witnesses. And I just want to let you know, in case you're like, oh, well, maybe the congressman's not actually a public official. The very first lines here are, for the purpose of this section, the term public official means member of Congress, and then they list a bunch of other positions. And that's there's no other way to look at this post from Donald Trump on Truth Social, which I'll share with you right now. And again, you know it's going to be a banger when it looks like this. Which side does it go on? Which side does it go on? Whichever side it's on, the entire post will be here, and we'll highlight the tiny text for you to follow along. Can you imagine? Donald Trump starts it. The Democrats under the crooked Joe Biden administration, who always use extreme force and jail time to destroy their political opponent, wanted to put Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife Imelda in prison for 15 years, which I predicted these radical left lunatics would do. And they never stopped wanting to fulfill this evil request. The Dems mercilessly went after Henry with, I'm not going to read this entire thing, by the way, just the things the parts that I think are most poignant. And they never stopped wanting to fulfill this evil request. The Democrats mercilessly went after Henry with everything they had. They were looking to destroy him, his lovely wife, and 2 young daughters, and anyone close to them. When the Democrats overwhelmingly lost, 1.4% in the popular vote, Donald Trump, overwhelmingly lost the 2024 presidential election and power with it, they regardless did everything they could to keep going after the Cuellar family. The Dems were vicious at all because Henry strongly wanted correctly border security, all in caps, says the demented grandpa. And then down here, you know, he gives his little flourish of his lies and shit. And then the daughters send him a letter, blah, blah, blah. After reading it, I decided in the interest of justice, you know, Donald Trump, the 34 felony convicted criminal, he loves justice. Instead of that, in the interest of justice and based on the daughter's loving request, that I would give Henry and Imelda a full and complete pardon. And this is where he admits the crime. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Congressman Henry Cuellar announced that he will be, quote, running for Congress again in the great state of Texas, a state where I received the highest number of votes ever recorded. As a Democrat, he's running. Continuing to work with the same radical left scum that just weeks before wanted him and his wife to spend the rest of their lives in prison, and probably still do. Such a lack of loyalty, he's talking about Henry Cuellar, loyalty for him, the president of the United States who pardoned him. So it is a quid pro quo. If I give you this, you must be loyal, he says. Something that Texas voters, capitalized for some reason, and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. President Donald J. Trump, all in caps. This is admitting that he wanted something in return for the pardon. This is a crime. This is also setting Henry Cuellar up to commit another felony. If he acts in the interest of Donald Trump after receiving the pardon, that's a felony too, under the same 18 U.S. Code Section 201. If you receive, it's equal to offering the bribe. This is not just quid pro quo, which is the term you're going to be hearing from the mainstream media as a possible quid pro quo. Oh, it seems like it might be. Some people are saying it's a quid pro quo. This is a fucking bribe. This is what this is. Donald Trump used the power of the presidency, the power of the office of the presidency, bestowed upon him by the Constitution, by we the people, by we the fucking people, to bribe a sitting congressman so he would not run again, or if he did run again, he would run as a Republican. And crickets from the party of law and order. Henry Cuellar, of course, Henry Cuellar, who I said just last week, he might as well be a Republican the way he votes. He doesn't believe women are smart enough or well-intentioned enough to have bodily autonomy to decide for themselves their reproduction, to decide for themselves about reproductive health care. He doesn't believe that. He does believe in the rounding up of migrant populations in the United States. He is not a good representative of the people of his district. For whatever reason, I guess maybe to avoid being a felon, accepting this bribe, he's going to run again. And where did he talk about this? Yeah, you guessed it, Fox News. He went on with Fox's chief conspiracy theorist, disseminator, and promulgator of conspiracies, Maria Bartiromo, to talk about this. And it gets pretty good.
Have you considered switching parties?
Look, I'm a Democrat. I'm probably one of the most, if not the most, bipartisan Democrat. And as I told some of my Republican friends on the House floor, I vote better than some of the Republicans in the Republican caucus, and they agree with me. I just feel that, you know, I follow the words of President LBJ, where he said many years ago, I'm an American, I'm a Texan, and I'm a Democrat, in that order. And I think anybody that puts party before their country is doing a disservice to their country.
Okay, but President Trump is out with a new Truth Social today on your decision to run again as a Democrat. And the president is saying, oh, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. He's talking about the fact that you are going to continue to work with the same radical left Democrats. What do you want to say about the president's Truth Social this morning?
Well, again, let me just say this. I was at church this morning with my wife. I prayed for the president. I prayed for his family. And I prayed for the presidency, because if the president succeeds, the country succeeds. And again, as probably the most bipartisan individual, I don't vote party. I vote for what's right for the country. And in fact, you know, when I got that rate by the Biden administration, they did it 40 days before a primary, where the far left had spent we're spending total about $20 million that we know of on that. So they did this right before that. So again, I am a conservative Democrat, but I will work with the president. I've reached out to his administration. I've told them, you know, name the folks, you know, Tom, Homan, Christie, other folks that say, hey, can we sit down? I'd love to sit down and see where we can find common ground. I sit on defense appropriations. I sit on homeland appropriations. And if I can work and find common ground, then I certainly want to do that.
If you're going to do crimes, coming from somebody who's not a criminal and hasn't committed crimes, maybe don't broadcast them to the world on the social media network that you operate, that you own, that you created because you were banned from others after trying to overthrow the United States government. Maybe that. Maybe don't do it for the sake of the people you're trying to bribe. Because, you know, hadn't you done this, Henry could have switched parties. He could have gone along with the bribe, with the quid pro quo. He could have done that. But you broadcast that this is what the intent was, and now if he does it, he's subject to prosecution, as he well should be. So thank you, Donald Trump. I think the chances were probably pretty good that Henry Cuellar, at the very least, would have voted your way a bunch of times, like he's going to anyway, because that's who he is. But you wanted him to switch parties or not run. It's a nightmare of idiocy, of just fumble fucking your crimes and then announcing the fumble fucking of the crimes. Maybe not feeling well, Jesse, is more of a not PG YouTuber. Anyway, what do you think? I welcome you to this conversation. If you're from Texas, if you're from Cuellar's district, I'd love to hear from you. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it, whether that be Facebook or YouTube.
It's the most toxic political culture, and it's not helping the American people.
But you contributed to that. You were out there pounding, insulting people.
Leslie, you've contributed to it as well with your own program. Yes, you're accusatory, just like you did just then.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene was on 60 Minutes last night with Leslie Stahl, again, part two, and she said a whole bunch of stuff that really pissed Donald Trump off, including that Republicans laugh at him behind his back. That's a good clip. I'm going to play that. And then also, she attacked Leslie Stahl when, she's on this whole rebrand tour. And anytime anybody pushes back against her saying that she's changed, she said, well, I haven't changed. I'm the same person. But she also wants you to believe that she's changed, that she's a different person, that she sees the world more clearly now. She sees Donald Trump specifically more clearly now. And when asked about that, Leslie Stahl said, well, yeah, but you've contributed to this toxic culture in politics. And Marjorie Taylor Greene loses her mind. Well, you too. I'm rubber, you're glue. You are too, you're toxic. Not just me and you. Like a fucking child. But I'm going to wait for those, because just a few minutes ago, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social an attack against her because of what she said on 60 Minutes, and because he uses the presidency like it's a bully pulpit, a literal bully pulpit. He is now threatening CBS that if they have her on, if you don't have the only people that I want to be interviewed, I will level punishment against you using the force of the United States government, of the presidency itself. This is what he wrote. Again, it's a banger. It's really long. We'll put the whole thing up. The only reason Marjorie Traitor Brown, Greene turns brown under stress. Cool. Real. Funny and cool. Zing! You got her, Donald Trump. How will she ever recover from that one? Whoo! Man, thank God I am not on the receiving end of those kinds of epic burns from Donald Trump. He'd probably call me Dummy More or Dollar Douche. That's one from several years ago. Call me Copper Top or make fun of me for being a literal redheaded stepchild. Woo-hoo! I don't know what I would do. Ugh, these fucking idiots. The only reason Marjorie Traitor Brown went bad is that she was jilted by the President of the United States. Certainly not the first time she has been jilted. Too much work, not enough time, and her ideas are now really bad. She sort of reminds me of a rotten apple, capital R and capital A, so it's like a real rotten apple, I guess. Although that's not how capitalized letters work, Donald Trump. It doesn't emphasize importance. Idiot. Marjorie is not America First or MAGA, because nobody could have changed her views so fast, and her new views are those of a very dumb person. Says the dumbest motherfucker who's ever held the office of president. And again, that's saying something, because George W. Bush was the president. That was proven last night when washed up Trump-hating 60 Minutes correspondent, in quotes, Leslie Stahl, who still owes me an apology from when she attacked me on the show with serious conviction that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was produced by Russia, not Hunter himself. By the way, it's the first time I'm reading this, so you're experiencing it for the first time with me. Totally proven wrong. Interviewed a very poorly prepared traitor who in her confusion made many really stupid statements. It's hard to tell who he's talking about. It's like reading a fucking confession here. My real problem with the show, however, wasn't the low IQ traitor. It was the new ownership of 60 Minutes. Here come the threats. Paramount would allow a show like this to air. They are no better than the old ownership who just paid me millions of dollars for fake reporting about your favorite president, me. Since they bought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse. Oh, well, far worse things can happen. P.S. Oh, a little postscript. It's like he's writing a Civil War letter. I hereby demand, President of the United States demands a complete and total apology. It's in caps. You got to read it like that, right? Though far too late to be meaningful from Leslie Stahl and 60 Minutes for her incorrect and libelous statements. I think you mean defamatory. Libel is written, Donald Trump. But, why would I expect the President of the United States, someone who should have mastered his native tongue many, many decades ago, to know the difference between the meanings of words? I know it's a high bar, Don. It's a high bar. Libelous statements about Hunter Biden's laptop. President DJT. Mm-hmm. Well, this is what sparked this insane response. Not normal response. Not leadership in this response. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene explaining that Republicans not only talk bad about her and make fun of her, they also make fun of Donald Trump, the way he talks, the way he looks, the way he acts, constantly behind his backs, because they are also cowards. Watch this.
I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them. Yes.
And they're watching what happened to you.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, do they talk differently?
Yes.
How?
Oh, it would shock people.
Well, let's shock people.
Okay. I watched many of my colleagues go from making fun of him, making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Leslie, kissing his ass and decided to put on a MAGA hat for the first time.
This is why none of this rings as legitimate to me, her rebrand, is that she spent the last how many years kissing Donald Trump's ass, grabbing the crotch of cardboard cutouts of Donald Trump, just worshiping at the feet of the dear leader, high priestess in the cult of Donald Trump. And now she's mocking those same colleagues who acted just like her in their worship of Donald Trump, in their ass kissing of Donald Trump. GTFO, you phony, stupid ass phony. Now, to put a little fine point on this that she has not changed, this is Leslie Stahl addressing, look, if you want to have a mea culpa, if you want forgiveness, if you want to talk about how you've changed, how you see things differently, the first part of that is to ask for forgiveness and to acknowledge the things you've done wrong. You can't continue to talk about how the toxicity in politics is no good for America while not taking account for what you've done. And when asked about this, she attacked Leslie Stahl with the old "I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you" defense.
It's the most toxic political culture. And it's not helping the American people.
But you contributed to that. You were out there pounding, insulting people.
Leslie, you've contributed to it as well with your own program. Yes, you're accusatory, just like you did just then.
I know you're accusing me, but I'm smiling.
You're accusing me.
I am accusing you.
But we don't have to accuse one another.
I want you to respond to what you have done in terms of insulting people, yelling at people, and then saying...
I'd like for you to respond for that.
I don't...
No, you can respond to that.
I don't insult people.
You do, in the way you question, and you're accusing me right now.
What the hell was that? What was that? I'm really, this is a sitting United States Congresswoman with a storied, Yet failing in the later part of her career, Leslie Stahl, someone who is just part of the mainstream media machine that wants to drum up drama, and I guess they did their job here with 60 Minutes, very likely will restrict the me talking about their video, providing commentary and criticism on it. They will ignore fair use protections under the United States copyright laws and try to restrict this video like they do every single time that I talk about what 60 Minutes does. I'll leave it there, and maybe I will, not maybe, I'm going to do it. That could be your cue to help support this work. For $2 a month, you can become a channel member on YouTube. Click the join button, see what's involved. You can also go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Supporting this work, there's a number of different things that it does. One thing that it does, as I hear YouTube videos click off and Facebook videos get switched off all over the world, is it allows me to talk about things free from any decision about whether it's going to be monetized or whether it's going to actually show or how many people are going to view it. When I have the support of the audience, I can talk about whatever I want, whatever you want me to talk about, whether 60 Minutes wants me to, whether CBS wants me to, whether Leslie Stahl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Donald Trump want me to. You're the boss. Anyway, I love and appreciate you. Thanks for your consideration on that very much. Comment below this video if you have something to say. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, daily@dollemore.com is the email. I do want to hear from you. You absolutely do inform the things that I talk about.
Should they be allowed to buy Warner Brothers? Should Netflix?
Well, that's the question. They have a very big market share. And when they have Warner Brothers, you know, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And also, and I'll be involved in that decision too.
It is undeniable, self-evident, obvious, to put it very simply, that Donald Trump is running an administration of intimidation, of threats, of grifts. He's a scammer and a con artist who wants to enrich himself with the presidency. At every turn, we learn more about exactly the depths to which he will sink to make himself richer. I'm going to say this again. I've said it a few times over the course of the last few months. But the thing that Donald Trump is most insecure about is the thing that he claims to be constantly. Remember during the first campaign and even his first presidency where he constantly talked about how rich he was? That was because he wasn't super rich. Now, he never talks about how rich he is because he's actually a rich guy. He's actually super, super wealthy based on the fact that he has trafficked off the presidency, profited off the office of the president. So now he doesn't have to brag about being rich because he actually is rich. That's why he continues to brag about being a smart guy because he's not smart. But he is absolutely threatening. He's using the office of the presidency to enrich himself and to silence people who are critical of him. And yesterday on the red carpet for the Kennedy Center honors that he hosted as president, he was asked about the deal between Warner Brothers and Netflix that was just announced, that Netflix has thrown their hat in the ring. They're going to try to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. And this has been an ongoing saga with CBS wanting to, with Zasloff in the mix, kind of surrendering control to the Ellisons and all of these different variations. And the reason this is important is because when you consolidate power in broadcasting, in media like this, one small group of people control the narrative. I mean, go watch the show Succession on HBO and you can get an idea of exactly how a narrative, obviously it's a fictional show, but it's based very closely to what's going on with the Murdochs over at Fox News. So the same thing, Fox News used to own Fox Entertainment and Fox Weather and Fox Sports and Fox News. And the family controls what gets broadcast and said on all of those. So it's a problem. So if a Donald Trump ally gets control of Warner Brothers, media and culture and entertainment also get infused with white Christian nationalism. White supremacy becomes normalized. It softens the brains of Americans. So it's a serious issue here. And Donald Trump is running a grift two ways here. I'm going to play this clip where they asked the question about Netflix buying Warner Brothers. It's two ways, which we'll talk about on the other side of the clip. How about that?
Should they be allowed to buy Warner Brothers? Should Netflix?
Well, that's the question. They have a very big market share. And when they have Warner Brothers, you know, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And also, and I'll be involved in that decision too. They have a very big market share.
Did he make any guarantees to you about the merger if they do merge?
No, not at all. He came up. He was in the Oval Office last week. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great person. But he's done one of the greatest jobs in the history of movies and other things. He's got a lot of interesting things happening aside from what you're talking about. But it is a big market share. There's no question about it. It could be a problem.
Mr. President, you mentioned.
So here are the two ways. It's either to give his friend who has been lining Donald Trump's own pockets with money, contributing to the ballroom. Where do you think that money's going? You think that's going anywhere other than Donald Trump's pocket? Come on. It is certainly, he wants to give either CBS through the Ellisons a better chance of buying Warner Brothers, or if Netflix is going to buy Warner Brothers, he wants them to also start filling his pockets with money. If you don't profit me, if you don't make me richer than I already am through me approving your deal's off, because I have the power. I will have something to say about that. That's a very big market share. I will be involved in that decision. Not because he's an antitrust expert or lawyer or even an average intelligent individual. He's none of those things. He is a dipshit, to be sure, but because he wants to steer where this thing goes so he can level his threats and intimidate and pressure people to pay him. That is it. Elizabeth Warren tweeted this. There should have been a lot more to this tweet, but this gives you an idea of what some lawmakers who have their heads screwed on straight are thinking and understanding about what exactly is taking place here. She says, Donald Trump said he'll be involved in deciding if Netflix can buy Warner Brothers. Is that an open invite for CEOs to curry favor with Trump in exchange for merger approvals? She's asking questions, the answers to which she knows. Yes. That is what this means. And then it should be an independent decision by the Justice Department based on laws and facts. You see, that is why I mentioned the thing earlier about Donald Trump, one, not being even of average intelligence, not being a lawyer, not being an expert in antitrust activities. This is why we have an entire department of the Department of Justice, a department within the Department of Justice of people who are experts at this. People who at the Federal Trade Commission. We have organizations within government who do this. We don't need our dementia, our idiot president getting involved in something that he has no idea about, no expertise in. It's not even an inkling of logic that he holds. But if he's not involved, how's he going to profit from the deal? How is he personally going to make money off the presidency unless he's directly involved? Same thing with the Kennedy Center, the renaming of the Kennedy Center, the hosting of the Kennedy Center honors, the maybe next year he getting a Kennedy Center honor. It's all self-aggrandizement, self-profit motive. And we see you, Donald Trump. And after the midterms, we very likely will have a majority and you will be buried in impeachment articles. And if we get the Senate, we very likely can secure a conviction against you, a removal of you, and a subsequent vote to bar you from public office ever again. We could say bye-bye to the malign, malignant tumor on the body politic of the United States of America. I, for one, no surprise to you, I bet, would be very happy to see that. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it, whether that be YouTube or Facebook.
Look, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have nothing to fear.
You'll be happy to know, as I say sarcastically, that the mush-mouth dildo with ears, Tom Homan, the border czar, is back on the scene. You might have wondered to yourself, where's the mush-mouth dildo with ears been? Why haven't I seen that guy? Well, it was because there was a bunch of bribery charges that were floating out there that the media was talking about. And then once the scene cooled a little bit and people weren't asking so many questions about the massive bag of cash in a kava bag that he accepted that's on tape, on FBI surveillance video in a sting operation, once it went away, he's back on the scene. They removed him from the conversation, but now he's back. And he went on State of the Union yesterday, typically hosted by Jake Tapper, traitor to the Republic. But he was on with Dana Bash, being asked a whole bunch of good questions, none of which were offered with good answers. And he tried to take the role of Donald Trump racism explainer, kind of like an interpreter for Donald Trump's racism. Oh, no, it wasn't racism. What he meant to say was, what he actually was trying to say was, even though Donald Trump has been on the earth for nearly 80 years, should be an expert in his mother tongue, should be able to communicate accurately, precisely, with an expert eye on communicating his ideas, right? Doing a better job than me, you would hope. And here is Tom Homan explaining that, no. We're not going in to Minneapolis to harass the Somali community because Donald Trump called him garbage. What Donald Trump meant to say was, watch this.
Mr. Homan, the president said very clearly this week that he doesn't want Somali immigrants in America. He called them garbage. Is that the real reason this operation is happening in the Somali community?
No, I think President Trump's referring to public safety threats as national security threats from Somalia and every other country.
Well, he didn't say that. He said
he's been clear from day one.
He talked about the whole community.
Well, look, I'm not aware what the President Trump was thinking when he said that, but I agree with President Trump. From day one, he has said, we are concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. He was put in the Oval Office to run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. That's exactly what we're doing. That's what American people voted for. So there's numerous countries that President Trump's, is looking at everybody that came in from these countries, make sure they're vetted properly. Some of these countries don't have the proper systems in place to totally vet somebody, so we don't know who they really are. So President Trump's taken upon himself in this administration to make sure anybody that came to this country illegally that we find, and those that came in through a vetting process that weren't properly vetted because they don't have the database and information to ensure they're properly vetted, that we're going to relook at those cases and make sure they're properly vetted.
You think Donald Trump, when he called the children of Somalis, many of whom are American citizens, when he called them garbage, when he called Ilhan Omar a citizen of the United States of America and duly elected congresswoman for a congressional district in the state, when he called her garbage, you meant national security threats and public safety threats. Is that what you mean? You fucking thumb with a face drawn on it? It got worse, if you can believe it. I'm going to bounce back in time. That was about 9:06 a.m. Eastern time. 4 minutes or so before that, he assured the American people that, look, if you're an American citizen, you have nothing to worry about relative to these roundups, relative to these kidnappings via masked secret police of Donald Trump in the streets of the United States.
With the new ICE raids in Minnesota, they are sparking widespread fear and uncertainty among people in the Somali community in the Twin Cities. Now, that Somali community in Minnesota is about 80,000 people. The vast majority are U.S. citizens or legal residents. So what is the reason for sending ICE there?
Well, look, we also know there's a large illegal Somali community there. There's illegal alien community, large illegal alien community there. Look, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have nothing to fear.
So we went back in time. Now we're going back forward another 6 minutes, where Dana Bash didn't directly address that particular thing in the moment. She bounced back to it. But like if American citizens have nothing to fear, why have we seen time and time again by ProPublica's counts, dozens, if not hundreds of times it is happening across the country, U.S. citizens getting wrapped up in? And this was his excuse to that after, remember, saying American citizens have nothing to fear.
The Department of Homeland Security posted on social media this week that ICE does not arrest or deport U.S. citizens. Just the other day, I'm going to show you some video. There was an incident, a masked ICE agents targeting a 22-year-old mother in New Orleans, chasing her to her home, even though she told them she was a U.S. citizen. And then there was this video, which I am actually going to show you. It was an incident in the state of Florida. Now, she was released once they found her driver's license in her car that said she was, in fact, a U.S. citizen. So if ICE says it doesn't arrest U.S. citizens, why do we keep seeing incidents like the one I just played, so aggressively pursuing people as they say they are lawfully in America?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I started as Border Patrol in 1984. Through my nearly 4 decades of work, I can't tell you how many times an illegal alien claimed to be a U.S. citizen. It happens all the time. But it's getting back to what I just said. Reasonable suspicion. If they have reasonable suspicion, stop and question somebody and shortly hold them and detain them briefly for questioning. If they have reasonable suspicion, they can stop. So do I think there's been 0 U.S. citizens that have been detained for questioning because the reasonable suspicion said they may be in the country illegally and may have an issue with that? But as soon as that questioning is over, if they're U.S. citizens, they'd be released. It takes probable cause to arrest somebody.
Oh, so we do have something to fear. And the reason we have something to fear is because the dildo with ears, with the mush mouth, says, well, the illegals are always saying they're citizens, so that's why we have to violate the rights of the citizens. We get it, Tom Homan. It's fascism, is what it is. If you get in the way and you resemble the enemy of the administration, if you talk like the enemy of the administration, even if you're a Republican, and you happen to have an accent or too dark a hue, if there's too much melanin, you gotta go, says the mushmouth dildo with ears. Yeah, I keep repeating it because I want it to catch on. Very transparent. Anyway, I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video. You should be afraid. Not afraid, like petrified, you can't function with fear, but you need to be nervous. And I hope that nervous will animate you to action. I hope that nervousness will motivate you to organize, to go out and protest, to get involved in a campaign. We cannot rest on our laurels, as it were, and just make social media posts. Look, I know a lot of people who are in this space who just stay in their studio, just talk about the news, don't go out to protests, don't get in the face of federal officials, don't make noise. I'm not one of them. The reason I moved to Washington, D.C. was because of what's taking place now. So I can go out into the streets. Just about every single week, I'm out at something. You can do the same thing. I would encourage you to do so, and I would shame you if you don't. That's not far off the truth. But I do love and appreciate you, and I want to hear from you. You can comment below this video.
Would it be legal for police in Arkansas to kill suspected drug dealers on a boat in an overturned lake? The answer is no, it would not be legal.
It's like saying
hang on, Senator. The answer is no, it would not be legal to kill.
Tom Cotton on Friday was on CNN. Tom Cotton on Sunday tried to clean up his mess and went on the Sunday shows. It didn't go well for him because on Friday he was embarrassed, so much so that he shared like a 25-second clip of a more than 6-minute interview. I think it was about 6 minutes. The only part that he could actually share in his own social media that wasn't sullied by the fact that he was frightened into submission because of his idiocy was that. Anyway, but I want to remind you about Tom Cotton, the moron senator from Arkansas. Arkansas, get it together with the people you choose to elect to high office. It has been a nightmare for decades. But I want to remind you that Tom Cotton, there is never a use of the military that Tom Cotton disapproves of, unless maybe it's humanitarian aid, unless it's in the act of providing aid and comfort to allies, then no. But if it's committing war crimes on the high seas, aye, sir, I'm Tom Cotton. I'm here to defend it. If it's dispatching troops onto the streets of the United States of America to beat and batter protesters, He's here for it. Remember, back in 2020, when Tom Cotton got the pages of the New York Times in this op-ed entitled, "Send in the troops. The nation must restore order. The military stands ready." He wanted American troops to be dispatched, deployed onto the streets of the United States to quell protesters who were exercising their freedom of speech protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution that he has sworn an oath to support and defend. Not only as a United States Senator, but also when he was in the military himself. And this op-ed was such dog shit, such fucking nonsense, that the New York Times, when you go to it right now, has this editor's note appended before you even get to the part where you're going to read it. They wrote, "After publication, this essay met strong criticism from many readers and many Times colleagues, prompting editors to review the piece and the editing process. Based on that review, we have concluded that the essay fell short of our standards and should not have been published." It was so fucking terrible. The New York Times says, "Oh man alive, we should not have published that. That was terrible. That was garbage." I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Well, Friday, this man who writes garbage that should never have been published was on CNN, and John Berman was holding his feet to the fire about his justifications for war crimes committed, murder committed by Pete Hegseth and, by extension, Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Watch this.
Let me ask you this specific question. Would it be legal for police in Arkansas to kill suspected drug dealers on a boat in an overturned lake?
Well, John, let me go back to the premise of your question. The Washington Post reported that Pete Hegseth had given an unlawful order of no quarter or no one left alive or kill them all. Pete Hegseth denied that last week, and it didn't deny that there was a second strike. Mitch Bradley and Dan Cain both flatly denied that yesterday as well, which some of the Democrats who watched that video and got those briefings confirmed. So that was what the Washington Post reported. That is a total and complete lie. I just respectfully disagree with my Democratic friends here. I think the problem they have is not with the second strike, it's with the first strike and every other strike on these boats. They think the entire operation is not well-founded. I just disagree with them. I think the analogy I would draw is not Arkansas police officers dealing with American citizens. If those boats were loaded with bombs or missiles headed for the United States, I don't think anyone would dispute that we had every right and indeed a duty to intercept them. But those drugs detonate like a bomb all across Arkansas and all across America, killing hundreds of Arkansans and hundreds of thousands of Americans. Our government has a duty to protect our communities from those drugs.
Senator,
that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Can I just take this in pieces? And we first answer my question. Would it be legal for police in Arkansas to kill suspected drug dealers in an overturned boat in a lake in Arkansas? Just answer that, and then I will address your question on the other thing.
John, the premise of your question is not well-founded. Criminals in Arkansas are not foreign nationals who are affiliates of a foreign terrorist designated organization.
The answer is no, it would not be legal.
It's like saying
hang on, Senator. The answer is no, it would not be legal to kill them in a lake. But let me ask a follow-up question. If they are terrorists, when did Congress pass the authorized use of force to attack them?
John, the reason why your question is not well-founded is like saying, would Barack Obama be okay droning an American citizen when he was president like he did to Anwar al-Awlaki over in the Middle East? These are totally different categories.
Senator, that's why I asked when Congress passed the authorized use of military force. There was an authorized use of military force against terrorists. I'm not saying what he did was legal or not, but that's what they based it on. In this case, when was the authorized use of military force to attack suspected drug dealers off the coast of Venezuela?
John, the president has inherent authority as the commander-in-chief under the Constitution to protect America using our armed forces against a foreign terrorist organization.
John Berman asking the same questions I've been asking for a week now. If you have a truckload of drugs, I said this last week, and police just murdered everybody in the van, just exploded the van, people would be outraged because that is not due process. What they're doing is an alleged crime, and crimes are dealt with courts, investigations, indictments, convictions, and sentencing. Due process. Right, Tom? You know about due process, right, Tom? Right, Tom? Trying to stretch my neck out like Tom Cotton's, because he's like a giraffe. It's as much as Donald Trump talks about Adam Schiff having a little pencil neck. Woo, boy, Tom Cotton. If he ever turned Democrat, Donald Trump would have a huge or a thin target, I guess. Anyway, Tom Cotton, all of my terrible invectives and jokes aside, tried to make up for his falling on his face on CNN. So he went to Meet the Press and tried to explain away the same type of thoughts and theories about this. And Kirsten Welker, to her credit, that's surprising enough to me because she's usually wildly terrible at her job, actually had a good response holding Tom Cotton to account.
He continued to talk about, one of them took off his shirt as if he's trying to stunt him. But again, your colleagues, some of them saying, look, they were waving their arms around. Isn't it possible that even the act of taking off a T-shirt could have been part of an attempt to get attention for help?
Or it could have been an attempt to signal to another cartel boat to come pick them up and pick up the cargo.
But is there confirmation of what they were doing and what their intentions were?
For Admiral Bradley's decision, it doesn't really matter what they were doing. They were on that boat. That boat was still a valid target. They were not in a state of distress on a plank of wood in the ocean like subsequent survivors were. And when that was the case in October, our military did the right thing. It sent a vessel, it picked them up, it took them back to shore.
You're saying...
Yeah, well, I guess they could have been surrendering. They also could have been gesturing for another boat to pick them up. They also could have been gesturing for ice cream cones, Tom. They also could have been signaling to the aliens that control your brain that they needed to come getting picked up. It could have been that too. Why would you think it would be the most obvious thing, like signaling for help or, hey, stop, don't kill us, we're just fishermen? Well, oh, of course, it must be something else, some wild, unlikely explanation. Why go with the most simple explanation? Yeah, they deserve to die because it could have been a host of other things, says Tom Cotton, senator representing the state of Arkansas. Garbage arguments from garbage human beings. What do you think? I'm gonna have to tape this together now. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Those from Arkansas, I invite you to this conversation. Those reasonable people in Arkansas, a state in which I used to live, by the way, Madison County, Arkansas, as a child for a brief period of time, lived on a little farm with goats and sheep and horses. It was very bucolic. You can commute. I'm sick, guys. It is really starting to take its toll. I'm glad this is the last thing. Sound off in the comments. Let me know. You can do it on Facebook or YouTube. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I'm going to go take a nap. I was going to say be more like me and less like Tom Cotton, but you could find somebody else to be more like than me. You don't want to be sick. And, I'm kind of a dipshit anyway. So don't be Tom Cotton. Be genuine and take care of one another.